All right, welcome back to another Lead Stronger Longer. This is the podcast and video vlog cast that empowers you to purposefully lead your life personally and professionally. This is a very special episode because I have my colleague, my peer, my friend, Miss Reneé Clair here. She is going to shed some insight because she's got some skills, some experience, and some understanding around what it takes to be a successful business owner. And in today's climate, we know we can use all the strategies, tactics, tools, and then some to try and get further faster, right? But the thing that we have to really understand, and why I have Renee here, is how do we manage it all? She is an expert in change management, people management, project management, energy management, process management. And the management is oftentimes the hardest part for us business owners who are driven and really want to serve, right? We're here to serve. We know we're out there doing that, but it's managing all the day-to-day pieces and all the moving targets. And so that's why Renee's here. It's kind of like a fireside chat. We're going to grab our cup of tea or whatever your choice of drink is and share with me. There we go. And let's have some fun. Okay. So Renee, let's just start off so that folks know who you are. Let's talk a little bit about what led to your specialization, what you're really focused on right now, and why they really should listen to you, besides me just tooting your horn and saying, you've got to listen to Renee.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Stephana. It's awesome to be here and with everybody watching. Thank you so much. I am Reneé Clair, just as Stephana said, and I take women to own businesses from chaos to clarity. And I have a really eclectic background, everybody. From back then, which, gosh, I started off my entrepreneurship journey as a yoga teacher, which I share in common with Stephana. My dream was not to be doing what I'm doing now. My dream was to have a beautiful online studio, bringing people together, hosting yoga retreats, and life has a, a had a different vision for me, and I leaned into it. I started off needing to supplement my yoga business journey with the other types of work, other gigs. So I found myself supporting a recruiter with marketing work, and then actually got really great at marketing and went on to support another company that was actually led by a women's empowerment strategist, along with her husband, that's a wonderful meditation teacher. And then I started diving into the world of technical recruiting, thinking, you know what, maybe me diving into the world of yoga right now isn't the best thing for me. Maybe I should lay a foundation financially so that I could set myself up. So I dove into hardware and software recruiting. So technical recruiting, it's amazing. I love the way engineers think. And before I knew it, Stephana, the rug was pulled out from underneath me because the pandemic happened. And I think that that is so common for a lot of us who have had just major shifts in our lives. And I was no exception to that role. So it was kind of interesting. I lost my partnership in the recruiting firm that I was a part of. We lost our clients. And so I was like, what do I do now? Oh, I'll lean back into teaching yoga. But as I started to do that, my yoga students, my yoga mentors, the other yoga teachers in my life started coming to me, not for yoga advice, but business advice, for productivity advice in particular. And before I knew it, I had been asked by my mentor and other peers that she had to teach other yoga teachers how to manage their time. And so all of a sudden, I was thrown into productivity coaching and loved it, and found myself teaching about setting goals, really honing your time so you can set boundaries that make you feel good, but from a place of self-care and starting with yourself first so you can show up for your students, for your clients, for your customers. And then from there, over the course of 3 years, my friends, my peers, everybody was started telling me, Renee, I don't know how to describe you. You call yourself a productivity coach, but you do so much more than that. And I started to realize, okay, I hear you, universe. It's time for a rebrand and another pivot. I'm like the queen of pivoting right now. So if you're thinking about pivoting, it's okay. You can always change your mind. You can always expand into something else. And so as of late, I am doing operational efficiency consulting for small businesses and their teams, as well as empowerment coaching for solopreneurs in the wellness industry and my food, plant as medicine people, as well as service industry folks like virtual assistants and so on and so forth. And I'm just really loving this fresh pivot. I'm feeling more aligned more than ever. And it's all about just leaning into my sacral authority or my intuition and just really listening. Where would you like me to go now? How would you like me to be of service?
I love that. I love that so much. And it's so interesting because as service providers, as business owners, this whole idea, especially because we know in the coaching world, oh my goodness, everyone in their neighborhood is a coach, right? And then there's the mentors and the gurus who've done it, and then they're teaching. And sometimes I feel like it's the blind leading the blind. But when we can stay in our own energy and be okay to experience these shifts, and you call them pivots. But really what that is just like course correcting to continue along your journey. And each of us has such a unique journey. And I love, thank you so much for sharing that awesome like experience, because probably a lot of us in the service-based industry come from somewhere. We started out and then we moved here and then we moved here, and we kind of allowed for life to lead us in different ways, and life and the bigger part of life as well. So in terms of, and then I love how you just said, and if you're thinking of pivoting, it's okay. That's part of the process. So in terms of leading, right? Because I'm really focused on helping and empowering all of us, to lead ourselves first. So what are your, I love quotes. So if you have a quote or a mantra, I'd love for you to share that, but really dialing in now how it is that you are leading yourself first, purposefully, personally and professionally, and dive into that.
I love this question, and thank you for asking it. I'm going to be very vulnerable and share something that that I created when I was in my yoga teacher training program and when I was going through a really, really incredibly tough time in my life. And so I have a beautiful teacher who teaches yoga nidra, which for everybody, if you don't know what that is, it's actually the practice of a beautiful form of yoga where you lay there and do nothing. It's like a guided meditation. All you have to do is stay awake, but you get like so many benefits. It's a really, really exciting practice. So look it up. I'm sure Stephana will drop you a link to that. And she's wonderful like that. But one day when I was thinking about before doing yoga nidra, it said to really tap into something called a sankalpa, which I'm sure you're familiar with. If you're not, it is like a phrase or a mantra, as Stephana was saying. That's something that is deeply aligned with your soul. It's like more than something you want. It's for the greater good of the world. And ever since then, so this was probably back in 2014 now, I keep hearing this message, this voice, this mantra, and it says the same thing to me. And it said it for years. I thought about like, oh, I need to change it. But this one, I can change my career path, but I cannot change this. Are you ready? It is. I love myself to teach others to love themselves. Mm. For me, this has been such a game changer because I wake up every morning and I remember this, or if I'm going through a hard time, I remember this because for me as a service provider, someone that leads from heart, I tend to put a lot of energy out in the world and I forget to get that energy back in to recharge my batteries. And so this is my journey in life, is to remember to come back to this place of, that life is about me too.
Yeah, I find this really interesting that we have these, or even need to have these kinds of conversations in our lives and in our culture. It's sometimes so baffling to me. Even when you said yoga nidra, and yes, that's lovely, and all these fun names and somatic breathing and all of this. It's like, this is, to me, natural way of living life. Why do we need to live? But that's the game that we're playing, right? Fundamentally, to be able to do nothing and rest is that should be part of life, as a natural part of life, not something you go and pay to do or have to do, or now it's another fad to do. It's like, that should just be natural to our life. And this piece around, I love myself and I want to share and show that and love another so that they know that they are worthy of their own love and all of that. I mean, why isn't this natural? Why isn't this second nature? And I can go on my high horse, but I'm not. But I mean, this is what I get really passionate about, is why and how did we get into this situation where the opposite is the true, and then we're now having to actually have a checklist item of taking care of myself, having self-care as a checklist item. This is so ridiculous. And if we could just stop long enough and wake up and realize in the present moment, you are worthy, you are valuable, you are loved. It has to start with you first. Then we can make some change. But yeah, I mean, that's my high horse. And you and I are like, yes, yes.
Amen.
And with all that said, I'm right there with you. My own childhood trauma, my own whatever. I leave home at 16 to cry, blah, 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 blah. That pushes you away from your wholeness, your truth, that is there innately, that is your birthright, and all that other stuff. So how do we navigate that? So how do we manage that, Renee?
Yeah.
How do we do that?
How?
You know?
Yes, very carefully. But seriously, I love how passionate you are about it, because I share that same passion. And it is really frustrating that as a society we've gotten to this point, and it's sad, and I know that there's so many different layers, but one of the layers that I know that's personally affected me are the stories of my family members, or the stories of my ancestors, and it's just piling in and piling in. And you're absolutely right. Like, my mantra is built so that I can stop that cycle with me and start, changing the fabric of society and rippling out this love, like, to everyone else, in hopes that it'll pay it forward, right? That concept of, like, the domino effect. And so I just love that you said that. It resonates with me so much. So the question, yes, I love that you tapped into management for everything. And I was like, oh, I'm a manager. But I was thinking about that when you were saying all these things, and I was like, oh gosh, I have that word resonating in my life so much right now. And it sounds kind of scary and heavy, but, as you were speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Stephana is reflecting back to me that managing, or management, it's about that balance. It's about that integration, right? And so it sounds like such a heavy word, but it's actually quite liberating when you realize that all of this is, like, your choice. It's up to you. And, it's empowerment at its core. But it's really, really exciting to, like, think in that way, that you can really chart the course of your life. You don't have to wait until you retire. You don't have to wait until you burn out. You don't have to wait until you need double knee, surgery, or whatever the case may be. You can really start now, and there's so many tools. My favorite thing is just starting with time management as a place to set boundaries, but not just boundaries for other people, but for yourself. And those boundaries around self-care are eminent. And I love, and you probably agree with me, like a wonderful morning routine. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. And as you were talking about management, and you're right, there's probably some kind of, for some of us, management is that dirty word, that uncomfortable word. So what was the reframe that you did that clearly, maybe you didn't even have to reframe, but clearly others saw it, was like, whoa, Renee's really got it together and can manage all these pieces. We need to be, we need that. You need to help the other yoga teachers and really get that, because you are a master at that almost innately or naturally. What is it that that we need to know about management and that word and what that means? So you know what I mean? So can you, by inception, let us get that to where we can feel like it's not a dirty word, it's not scary, it's not like drudgery, it's a gift.
Yeah. For so long in my life, I actually just detached from my life. I detached from the things that I wanted. I was so busy doing what other people wanted that I wasn't in sync with my own needs, my own wants, my own desires. And I had a soul, a dark soul of the night situation. So hard to say really quickly, right? And that I hit rock bottom and found myself just divorced or separated at the time, rolling out a divorce and in a state that I really wanted to move to, but I didn't know anyone. I didn't have friends or family there, and really had nowhere to place my time and energy except myself. It was either, I mean, I had to make a change, and I went to therapy and really journaled a lot, did a lot of yoga, did a lot of meditation, started to ask myself these really difficult questions. Some of the difficult questions I actually still ask myself today, and they're from A Course in Miracle. Have you heard of A Course in Miracle? Okay. My favorite four questions in the world are, where will you have me go? What will you have me do? What will you have me say? And to whom? But coming from a deeper place of what do I want? What resonates deeply with me, not what other people need. And so management for me means showing up for myself in a way that feels good and organized so that I really am taking care of myself. I needed a little bit of structure, or else I was just going wild with not eating, not sleeping, not moving, not exercising. And those are the things that I was neglecting from my life. So it's this little bit of structure, a little bit of balance. And that's what management to me is. And it's this day-to-day checking in with yourself, with your higher power, with your intuition, even with your friends and family sometimes, because they can be an amazing mirror and say, hey, Renee, you're out of alignment. Got to check your core values there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, it's really the key of being able to give yourself the space. And I think that we're in a time, a season of our world where it's coming faster and more furious to really tap back into what's important. And
Yeah.
some of those important things are the mundane, getting sleep. I mean, eating a nourishing meal, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're so busy scrolling or getting to the next thing. And I think that we're tired of that. I think we're tired of the disconnection. And that's why
Yep.
I really love what you do for business owners and really dialing this in, whatever you call it. I mean, ultimately, it's the same with me when I'm more focused on the energy and the health. And because I know it directly correlates to the bottom line. But you're so graceful with regards to managing those components that are the tactic and really strategically supporting the business owner. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the woman small business owner. And because you, like me, we believe in women. And I think, I mean, not just, oh yeah, of course we believe in women, but we know them, we've been there. I think of my mother
Mm-hmm.
every single day as an entrepreneur. And had she had a mentor and someone who could share with her the skills and the tools that you and I have, she would be a different woman now, and I would be a different woman now. My brothers and my family, and the ripple effect is so significant and so profound that no regret here. It's just like, this is why I'm driven to wake up in the morning and support and do the things that I can do to support another. And often it's a woman, but often the women will have their husbands or because it's not just because of a woman and, we're not going to help men. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with that. We know this. We know this. Our hearts mourn for the women who are not loving themselves to ensure that they are cared for and that we give so much to everyone else and all of this. It's that old driven paradigm that was probably from our mothers and grandmothers and so on. And that's just not as it's not only not sustainable, it's really not workable.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on that? And how would how would we lead stronger, longer by shifting? What are the things that you would say? I would do this, and
Definitely.
this is what I would do.
Yeah. I agree with you when, I do say women-owned businesses are who I serve, but at the end of the day, it's a deeper issue that our society, at least for right now, it's very young and it's very masculine. And so even men are missing this like kinder, softer part of their existence, and tapping into that. Even when it comes to work, like there's a strength that we can draw from both the feminine, both the masculine when it comes to entrepreneurship, achieving our goals, and so on and so forth. And so kind of the softer ways that I lead are through number one, boundaries, like setting boundaries around your time, around how you're showing up every moment of your day, and really honing in on how you're taking care of yourself and how you're showing up for your family, your dog, your partner, whatever the case may be, because we are not just beings that are created to output. We are created to be social, and we neglect these key areas in our lives. And I can't tell you how many people I've worked with that are like, I've given up so much for this business and I wish I didn't, and it's just like heart-wrenching, I know. And so, I'm like, okay, like let's have those boundaries, and boundaries are good. They're not just about emotional stuff. It's about let me carve that space for you. And then the next thing is modeling self-care, right? Because if we can model it for others and we hold ourselves accountable for that, and to show that we're taking care of ourselves, so we expect our team members to take care of themselves, that's a game changer. Like we will now have multiple people to hold us accountable that are watching us. And so therefore we can reinforce our self-care tactics. And it's funny to call it a tactic, but and then you did this really interesting thing that I was so excited about, which is energy management. And a softer way that I've learned to describe that is learning to budget. And I say that learning to budget three things is really crucial. Of course, we know money. We know to budget our money, right? Yeah. But the other one we're talking about a lot today is budgeting our time, and then budgeting energy, and really like saying, okay, where am I in each of these categories, and how can I help myself, at any point in time? Like maybe it's not going to, spend all this money on chocolate like I would, whatever the case may be. But learning to budget with joy, I think, is better, because when we're doing that, we're not coming from this place of lack, and that's huge. I believe that also most of us who start our entrepreneurship or our businesses, we're finding this false belief that we keep running into of the search for happiness. And happiness is such a fleeting feeling. And so I really think that it should be a search for contentment, just figuring out how to manage the highs and the lows, and always checking in with yourself and just managing those feelings in that time, because it's not going to be just highs all the time, and it won't be just lows. It's just the nature of the beast, right? And then let go and rely on the strengths of your team members and other people in your support network. A lot of my clients, they're like me. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I've got a lot of like just the strength. I have a lot of natural masculine energy, so I'm always checking myself. But leaning onto your team members and their strengths, and letting go of perfection is huge. You'll start to see yourself scale and let go in a variety of ways that you never dreamed possible. And then this one is my really big one. My favorite one is like leaning into your higher power, whether it's God, Goddess, universe, or whoever you call it, and your intuition, that gut feeling, because you will know and you'll be strong and have this confidence to take your life in any direction that you want to at any time. Those are the big things that I've seen be game changers for all the leaders in my life.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So is there a go-to book that you just love?
Yes, there's so many. I love books.
We'll take as many as you want to share.
The go-to one, and it's still, it's funny because I bring a lot of yoga principles into my business teachings, but I'm so business minded. But I feel comfortable sharing this here. Is my favorite book is The Four Agreements: A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom. And that's my journey on this planet, is to guide people to really connect to what it is to have personal and professional freedom. To me, that is the ultimate management. And this book takes you there. And the four agreements that are just lovely to read up on are: be impeccable with your word, And that just means showing up, being kind. When you find yourself being unkind, coming back, being impeccable with your word again, making up for it. Don't take anything personally. Okay, how many of us are working on this one? This is sensitive soul, but this one's huge because people just emotions are always fleeting, and it's usually never about us. Don't make assumptions. Don't always assume, that the person behind you that's tailgating you is a horrible person. They might have an emergency. And always do your best. I think this is the easiest one of all the agreements for those of us in the service industry, wellness industry, those of us who are trying to make an impact. We're always doing our best. But I think there's this other part to it, which is accept that you are doing your best and that everything you do along the way is enough.
So good. So good. I actually met Don Miguel Ruiz, and he spoke to, I know.
Oh my gosh, fangirling here.
I know. And it was profound. And he shared his story. I mean, just to be in his presence was beautiful. And oh, I just got the rekindled the whole moment of his talk and him being there. He does have fabulous books. That is probably my all-time favorite. And every time you read it, there's a deeper level of those 4 agreements. And those 4 agreements can be applied self to self, others to others, yourself to others, and others to you. This is the cycle where we're all connected in this web of life and existence and grace and profound beauty that is in our world. And it's easy to get lost in the noise, but I encourage all of you, take what Renee has said to heart and really check in with what resonates, and don't just run off to the next thing. Sometimes I have made a new practice, and Renee, this is something that I know you, because with yoga, there are specific postures. It's not just about the physical postures. It's about the presence and reconnecting with your body, your mind, your soul. And that's the whole point. When we can do that on a regular, consistent basis, things change without you having to force them. And I think that that's one of the greatest gifts that Renee really can bring to a relationship or to an experience, and why I'm so grateful that thank you for spending a little bit of time on your Friday to share with my audience what gifts you bring to the world. Thank you so much for your grace and your beauty. What is the best way for people to reach you? And is there any call to action or anything that you'd like to share to our audience?
Yes, if anything I said aligned with you, come hang out with me. I'm on LinkedIn this year. I was on Instagram for a while, but LinkedIn is my happy place this year. And I am offering Techie Tuesdays every other Tuesday. That is a free 30-minute mini training for women to own businesses. I go over a piece of technology or software and just help you problem solve. Like, there's 3 things that usually I go over that really resonate for everybody. And I just love building community. And so you can sign up for any of those Techie Tuesdays on my website at www.renee-clair.com.
Awesome. I'm going to be there. I love you. I adore you. Thank you for all that you do. I am so blessed to just spend this time with you. And together, let's just set that intention that this reaches those that need to hear this in any time, space, dimension that need to, and that our love our love is reflected back so that they know that they are loved, and then that's just ripple effect of love just goes out there. Do you know? You know.
I do.
You said in love and care, true, genuine care for the business owners and the leaders. I mean, we have our work cut out for us. We're living in a time that's so interesting, and we need to go back to the basics, go back to these powerful, simple skills that Renee has just shared, and know that you're not alone. We're here. Renee's here. My gosh, she's gives. And that's who we are. So reach out to us anytime. Thank you, Renee. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. Okay.
Bye.